Hi there, my name is Sarah, and I want to start documenting my story and my life about all my autoimmune diseases, my dysautonomia, and my anxiety and depression from it, as well as chronic illnesses that I have. And this is mainly because there are so many of us out there that feel like we're crazy. And yeah, maybe I am a little bit crazy, but I know how my body feels. It has taken me a decade of my life to feel comfortable in my own skin and to know that how I am feeling is normal for me. It's not okay how I'm feeling, but that I truly believe that there's a cure. I've gotten better, but we can't. I personally have had to find the perfect doctors for me. Everyone has a different system, and I want to talk to each one of you who are out there, who are listening, because I want to help, and I want someone to help me too. I think that we are all in this together, and what better time to bring up the health that's been kind of hush-hush than during a pandemic when everyone is being so health conscious right now. So my story, I want to start off today by talking about autoimmune neutropenia and what I've gone through with that. I also, though, have post-oral orthostatic tachycardial syndrome. I cannot pronounce it. Someday I will. I'm a Spanish teacher, not crazy English, okay? I also have vulvodynia, interstitial cystitis, endometriosis, and anxiety and depression from them. And I'm going to do a video to film each illness. And then I want to also, I would love to do videos with people in them too, because my experience is vastly different from other people, because each autoimmune disease, each chronic illness is so different from one another, and how our bodies react. So my story with autoimmune neutropenia starts when I'm 15 years old. I'm a sophomore in high school. I've got everything perfect. I've got like this awesome boyfriend. He's a senior, or he's off at college. So I start off my story doing everything awesome. I'm a great runner. I'm great at band. I'm great at school. I have all this energy. I have all this enthusiasm. Bam. That fall, I got so sick. I don't know with what. Eventually I did find out I probably had mono during that fall, but on top of that, I had a sinus infection that lasted like 8 weeks. I had like awful flare-ups everywhere, which like I'd never had that bad. I was that like type A girl, peppy, doing everything. All of a sudden I couldn't even get through a class without just wanting to fall asleep. I was going from straight A's to failing. And this was to the point where like teachers weren't believing me, because that wasn't me. And as a teacher now, I'm kind of confused by that. And I'm thankful to those of you out there. There are a few that I keep up with or try to stay in touch with, and that is because they believed me, even if I didn't know what was happening myself. So thank you. I'm a teacher now because of you guys. But as I was getting more and more sick, my mom and my dad, my mom especially, was like, there is something wrong with my girl. This is not how she acts. This is not, like, she would never come home with this grade. She would never have this attitude. I was always angry. I was always so bitter at the world because I felt awful. I mean, truly, I think having the worst like sinus infections and strep throat and all those yucky and any yucky viruses all together, and having it for months and months on end. I know some of you have gone through that pain. It's a lot of suffering. It's awful. And if you're watching your kids go through it, I'm sure it's just as painful. So I'm sorry that you're going through that with your family. But wait, okay, sorry, I got confused with my whole suffering. that really was a lot of suffering. And we finally started going to doctors and saying there's something wrong. We heard 4 times that it was probably from my makeup I was wearing, that my eyes were flared up and red. At the time, I didn't wear makeup. I still don't, obviously. I mean, I guess I'm in my PJs. But I also was told that it was my laundry detergent that was making me this sick. And obviously at that age, I believed the doctors. I was going to believe whatever, but luckily, thank goodness, my mom said, absolutely not. We're taking you to another doctor again, and another doctor. And finally, we found an amazing doctor, and she just asked for a blood test. And now we're at the end of sophomore year, so this took a lot of failed attempts. And if you're a parent out there or if you're even a kid that is hearing that something that just doesn't sit right with you, and you know that there's something more, see someone else, please. Because had my mom not had that gut feeling, I don't know that I'd be telling my story today. So she ordered a blood test. She got the blood test back and called my mom and said there's just something not sitting right with her white blood cells. Let's get another count. Let's do it again. And of course, at the time, I was terrified of needles. Sounds like a big joke now. And so that was a huge deal. Which, by the way, with my POT syndrome that I didn't know I had at the time, I would pass out during that. So we'll get to that story in another video. But we were able to get another blood count. This blood count said same thing. My counts were low. I was admitted to a children's hospital in Grand Rapids. They were amazing. But this got scary. I mean, I was tested for several different types of cancer, several different types of genetic disorders. I was on IVs. I was on, I had so many things, needles at me. I would miss school because I had to get all these tests done. And not, the hardest part was we were at that point too where, I couldn't really tell my friends because at that age, 15, 16, you're thinking my friends are going to think I'm insane and they're not going to believe me. Or what if they do believe me and then there's nothing wrong? And then I made so much drama out of it. So I was going through this alone with my parents. And my dad would take me to all these appointments. And I think the worst of it was that was when I started having that concept of something's wrong with me. What did I do to deserve this? Or I have to be a bad person to deserve this. So that's when the depression came in. Tag along for that video later on too. That's a fun ride. But after all my bone marrow tests came back and all my different little operations that they tried, they finally determined that it's autoimmune neutropenia. And the way they explained it to me then was they just don't know where it's coming from. It's not coming from my bone marrow. It's not coming from there's no other reason. It's not cyclic. Some of you out there might have cyclic neutropenia or know someone with that. They're a little bit different with what, the reasoning why. So I would love to hear someone with cyclic neutropenia and their story because it would be different from mine, I would believe. But with autoimmune neutropenia, that means that my neutrophil count and my white blood cell count, they're so low that I can't fight diseases off, or I can't fight sickness off, which is why I was so sick for so many months straight, because my body could not fight it off. I was working overtime and my poor body just could not do it. And so they found a shot, Neupogen. Honestly, Neupogen's amazing. I tried a few other things, and a few other things work great for other people. But Neupogen was a lifesaver for me, seriously. Within like a couple weeks, I was able to start getting energy. But honestly, before the shots came along, it was hell. I lived in an awful world where I hated myself because I couldn't think. So if you have brain fog as any symptom from anything and you can't remember something, like even the other day, I couldn't find my coworker's clipboard. I still don't know where it is. I can't explain what happened because and it's so minor. It's not a big deal at all. It's a silly clipboard. But like the fact that I just don't, like it just disappeared from my memory, because that's what brain fog does to me, is like little things like that. Because I look at, like, for me, my full attention goes to keeping my students safe and being super safe during the pandemic and making sure every human is safe, that like anything else just disappears. Sometimes I'll be working on, like even right now during this video, luckily I'm not feeling the brain fog, but if I was, I would be like every 5 seconds, like losing my train of thought, not sure what I'm doing. That's frustrating. It's frustrating because you can't explain it to anyone. When I would go up to my teacher in school and say, I need help with chemistry, he told me that I was a joke. Not one of them. One of them's awesome, but the other one. And he just didn't understand. I truly believe that he had the best intentions. I think he just thought I was like a 16-year-old kid just goofing off and like didn't care about school. I genuinely cared about school. I just could not remember. I could not remember. I couldn't look at the table of of elements and like remember. Even in band, I was drum major. I couldn't count to 4. Drum major is the person that conducts. I was conducting a band and didn't remember how to count to 4 sometimes. Now, I've gotten way better at that, and by the time I got to college and was drum major, I could count to 4 real well. But that's how tired you get sometimes. This isn't all the time. It comes and goes. Sometimes I go for months with being perfect. Sometimes it's here and there. That's fine. It happens. And I've learned to be okay with it. And I've learned to just laugh it off. But that took years and years and years. Well, 10 years. But along with neutropenia also came like my fatigue. And this is what all my illnesses, I think it all ties into one: fatigue. And that ties into the brain fog. When you're so tired, like I had in high school, I had a cross country meet, and I got up in the morning. I was gonna run it. I was gonna do it. And somehow I think my dad just knew I wasn't gonna do it. I just woke up that morning. I couldn't get out of bed. I was crying so hard getting out of bed. It was so painful. I was so tired. I just remember thinking, why am I not dying? Why go through, that's what the tricks on your mind that having neutropenia played on me. Why am I here? What is my end goal? Because if I can't get up in the morning, what is the point? So I got up. My point was running that day. But I also had a big band competition that night. And I was on the bus for an hour for that meet. It was cold, wet, rainy. And it would have been that would have been my PR. Like I would have gotten my best race time then. But I was so fatigued and my body just couldn't even hold itself out. One of my friends out there, I lost touch with her, but she's someone that I truly believe she was meant to be in my life. She sat next to me on the bus ride, and she told me that I needed to say no to this race, that I needed to sit in a tent, that I needed to have someone carry me to my dad. She was so brave for saying that, especially for how stubborn I was. And she made me feel like it was okay to back down. And that's why it's so important to have people that advocate for you. And so I said no. And right after I said no, I just kind of collapsed in the team tent, and I just cried and cried and cried. And I couldn't even get up 100% to get to my dad. My friend helped me get everything. And I remember driving home. I'll never forget driving home. I passed Calvin College on the way home. That's where the meet was. And every time I drive on that road, I feel the way that I did then. How in the world am I going to survive this, let alone for a band competition tonight? Like, I didn't have any strength in me. Like, there's none left. Everything was whipped out of me. I couldn't even stand up. And that's also where I had a great co-commander who, he basically made a plan that night for me so that I felt like I could still be the best drum major I could be. But he made sure that if I couldn't, that it would still look pretty awesome and professional if I had to get off the podium. And once again, that's a friend that was there who didn't understand, but understood that I was in pain and that I was suffering. And yep, if you're out there, you're awesome. Thank you for that. But high school was the toughest for it. College was also hard because I was coming to terms with the fact that I was always going to be sick. I think that's when I realized that I had to make a different plan of action, and I'll talk a little bit about that plan of action later. But for me, my big symptoms with neutropenia were the fatigue, the brain fog, and the fact that I would get sick with anything, which, as you can imagine right now, during a pandemic, I am not sure I've made it this long without catching COVID. Maybe it's because of how safe I've been over the years. I've had to wear masks sometimes. I've had to socially distance myself. I've had to hand sanitize. I've had to keep my distance from people. Like, these are all protocols that I have to live on a daily basis. And I know a lot of you have to too. And I'm sorry that you have to do that. I'm sorry that COVID is your normal life. Like, I'm sorry that this world that we're in, that everyone's living, is something that's normal to us and been normal for us for a while. But that's also why I'm here. And I want us to talk. And I want us to help each other get answers. And I will do that. My next video will be about my dysautonomia, posterior pot syndrome. I'm not going to try to pronounce it again. And then I'll go on to my other diseases as well. But I wanted to start with neutropenia. And I will kind of tell my story of each one. You'll probably see how they overlap. And then I want to give, my last video after that is going to be how I have helped cure myself of a lot of it and how I have moved forward. I am a successful teacher. I see kiddos that I love dearly. I get to teach 8 classes of Spanish a day for little ones, and that is a dream come true. For those of you out there that don't know if you can live your dream or not, I'm living it right now. So you can. I will help you get there if that's what you want. And I also got to travel the world in college, Spain, Peru, Ecuador. And that's something that most of you right now especially, but that's something that might not be on your plate currently. And I didn't think that would be on mine, but it was, and it will be in the future. So I want to make sure that whatever your goals are, I'm not a professional by any means, but I'm professional at feeling the suffering that you feel. So please let me know what I can do to help you and to help your family. And I'm excited to go on this journey with you. And please, I know it sounds crazy, but share my video. I want people to know that they are not alone. I felt like I was alone I don't want people to feel that way. We're in it together because it's 2020 and the world's already crazy enough, so why not turn it around in a good way? Thank you for so much to listening to me blab on the couch. I don't even know how to edit videos, so anyway, thank you and good night.